Amazing Kate Casey.
Welcome back to another episode of Reality Life with Kate Casey. I'm hoping that you guys have had a great week. Great TV week, by the way. I watched Real Housewives of New York last night, which was a fantastic episode. I just love all of them. They just take all their grievances out on television, and for that I respect them. I watched the season finale of Married at First Sight. That's the show where people are set up to be married the moment that they meet. So basically, at this part of the journey, they get together with the therapist and the pastor and explain whether or not they're going to stay married or not. Next week, I'm going to have Courtney Hendricks from season 1, who's still happily married, by the way. She's going to talk about the episode where they bring them back together weeks after the episode have all aired to see if they really ended up staying together. I suspect that at least one of those couples is not still married. I think that once the cameras left, they were like, let's cut this shit. We have nothing in common, and this was a mistake. This week's episode is great. Let me break down what we have going on. Number 1, Kim Zolciak-Biermann had a huge PR blunder this week after the part 3 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion aired. She said some really suspect things on the show. It culminated with a meeting with Andy Cohen in a restroom at some nondescript hotel. And I spoke with my friend who's a high-powered entertainment publicist to kind of get her insight on what Kim should do moving forward. I spoke with Ben Higgins from The Bachelorette and The Bachelor in Colorado via Skype. He has been on a bunch of reality shows, and I kind of wanted to get some insight on what it's like to be The Bachelor and what he thinks about reality television after all these years. Rachel Pitzel watched Exes on the Beach, which is a new show on MTV where they take a bunch of people that are like W-list level celebrities and they bring their exes and force them to live in some sort of hotel-ish style home on a beach. Here's the thing. If you're going through the casting process and they keep asking you for the names, numbers, social security numbers, and Instagram addresses of those that you've dated or had sex with in the last 6 to 8 months, there's a good chance they're going to show up on the show. Note to all those people that are considering being on television shows. And finally, Sonia Sells. I had her watch Bridezillas on WETV. As you know, I've been married for 11 years, so I wanted to talk to somebody who's actually engaged and who watches these shows to get some insight on why these people have gone off the deep end when they're just planning their wedding and what the wedding trends are now, because clearly no one's inviting me to weddings anymore. So sit back, relax, and here we go. I'm on the line with my friend who is an expert in entertainment PR. I bring to the table 17 years of media consulting for law firms. She, however, is actually based in Los Angeles and deals with celebrities on a day-to-day basis. I have asked her today to speak with me because I watched, just as she did, the part 3 of the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion. I watched the train wreck that was Kim Zolciak, not only on the show, but in the restroom after the filming ended, discussing with Andy Cohen her frustrations with the way that the reunion went and her feelings on racism today. Today, she put out a statement that basically says she's saddened by what has happened in the days afterwards and that she is in no way a racist, and that she hopes that, she can essentially move forward. Here's my question for you. Do you think she actually wrote that statement?
No. I mean, I find it hard to believe that Kim came up with all of that by herself. I think probably she was feeling a lot of pushback from social media on her pages. Bravo probably, wasn't really thrilled. But they did air the part that she's claiming was, quote, edited out of context. So I really think it was probably a combination of, Kim feeling her feet to the fire, making a decision she's got to say something, her publicist, and, maybe one or two other people kind of coming up with ideas to put out this kind of a statement to try to, stem the hemorrhaging.
I think that Kim's main problem is that no one believes anything she says because she's a habit of lying about not things that make no sense. For example, early in the season saying that she had cancer, but never really coming forward with details on her health journey. making up stupid lies about conversations that can be proven through archival footage to be not true. Also, what did you think about on the season 3, the part of where she noted that Cashmere, her new skincare line, had made $15 million?
In pesos, maybe. I mean, I started laughing hysterically. Thank God I didn't have any wine in my hand. It would have spilled over and ruined my new duvet. But I don't believe that for a second. I don't know anyone who uses Cashmere or where to buy it, or, I mean, it's not like you're seeing commercials or infomercials or online promotions. I mean, $15 million for a brand that not many people have heard of would be quite astonishing by any stretch. So I have a hard time believing that's an actual figure.
So what does she do? She's your client, let's say, in make-believe land. What do you tell her to do to move forward after this?
I mean, here's the thing. All of these Real Housewives are liars. Every single one of them. I can tell you lies about every single person on every single franchise from the last 10 years that these people make up. So she is no different from any one of these other women, okay? They all have some sort of thing that they're hiding, and then they always want to, fake like, oh, they didn't know it existed, or plead ignorance in some case. So for Kim right now, I think, obviously, listen, do I believe she's a racist? No. Do I believe she is a liar? Yeah. Do I think she, chose her words in a very non-thoughtful way? Absolutely. And I don't even think she's ignorant. I just think she says really stupid things. But all of these women do, and that's why we watch. We watch for the train wreck. I mean, you're a housewife with kids and a husband. They don't follow you around driving carpools and, going grocery shopping or taking the kids to Target. That's not why we're watching these people. So part of it is, it's entertainment, and they say these things, and then when there's a backlash, they feel the pressure, and then they start trying to backpedal and blame editing and all these other things. So, you can't blame editing. You said what you said, and it is a nice, gesture that she has acknowledged her mistake and made a statement. Because again, I don't believe this woman is racist. I just believe that she's really stupid.
So here's my advice to her. Not that she's paying attention, but if she is, I would say get off television for a while.
Get out. You say that to all of them. We do. I mean, listen, I don't tend to rep reality stars because A, they don't have any money. All of these businesses are a sham in some sort. Some of them do take off and they become successful, but honestly, think about who these women are. And this is, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but a lot of, my actual clients who are significantly wealthy from work or entertainment, whatever their career is, or businessmen, tycoons, for example, they wouldn't allow, and I know that's a word in this time, but they wouldn't allow their wives to go on TV and do these things that end up humiliating them and the family, because that would be detrimental to the real income. And if you notice, a lot of these women go on these shows and then all of a sudden, oh, we have these marital problems. No, they get on these shows to get some financial stability or try to parlay something to get away from these miserable marriages or these broke husbands in the first place. So if it works, you see what happens. I mean, the arc is the same with every franchise, So for Kim, I think, lay low. Kroy's not exactly working, so they have to do something. I don't believe this Cashmere is making $15 million. And these housewives' salaries aren't that much. That's why they all start these ridiculous, wine businesses, and all of a sudden everyone's a clothing designer and is a swimwear designer and all this bullshit. If that were true, they would not be on these shows. These shows are their livelihoods, and Kim realizes that. And she's alienated a lot of people with these foolish statements and blaming editing. And if it doesn't turn around for her, she's going to be out of a job.
Wow. All right, yeah. So get off the television for a little while. You're going to have to
try. Stop tweeting. Stop Snapchatting.
Yeah.
Stop putting every waking, breathing moment of your life, and actually be a real housewife. Enjoy your family. And, everything does pass. Listen, I mean, I've had all sorts of crisis clients and entertainment, and people die, people go to jail, people get arrested. I mean, it's endless. Things happen all the time. But you have to try to pull back in a way that these housewives aren't used to, because they're used to splashing everything out there to try to, make their lives seem a lot different than they actually are. That's what sells, and that's why we watch.
Well, I appreciate your insight. I salute your great work, and I hope that I'll be hearing about you receiving a PR Week award in the near future.
I have two, not PR Week, but yes, I'm an award-winning publicist. How about that?
There you go.
It's the most useless. That's equally useless, but at least I could laugh about it, right?
Well, I appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Kate.
Okay.
You're welcome. Bye.
Ben, I'm so excited to talk to you. I feel like I know you. So you placed third on the 11th season of The Bachelorette featuring Caitlyn, and then you became The Bachelor in the 20th season. Tell me about how you were cast for The Bachelorette, how you came to the decision to go for it and be on television.
I was cast. It's kind of a funny story. I was down in Honduras, and I was coming back through Honduras, through Houston, Texas. And I was sitting on a plane with a buddy of mine who had recently met his wife, and he was sitting there, and he's a big fan of The Bachelor. Somebody from The Bachelor got on our plane. I don't know who it was. I don't remember at this point, but he goes, "Oh, that's so-and-so from The Bachelorette." And I said, "Oh, that's awesome." And he goes, "Would you ever do that? Like, would you ever do The Bachelor?" And I said, it was the first time that it really made sense that like people do that show, that live everyday lives. I said, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not against it, but I've never really thought about it." It's weird. 2 days later, I was walking through my office in Denver, Colorado, and one of the executives pulled me into the room at her office, and she said, "Ben, casting calls for The Bachelorette in Denver. Would you go?" And I said, "I'm not going to a casting call." She said, "If I set you up, would you answer? And would you complete everything to be completed?" I said, "Yes. If they want me, I would complete it." So that's how it really started. And I mostly decided to still do it because I didn't have a reason not to. I didn't have a good excuse to say no to it.
Well, what about your job? I mean, you had just graduated. You were 26 when you went on the show. So, you've really kind of begun your career. Did you have any trepidation about how that would limit your possibilities in terms of promotions or take you in a new direction?
Who needs a job? No, I think that's spot on. And so it was actually my very last conversation was with my employer. And I went to them and I said, "Hey, this is what's on the table. I would regret it if I didn't at least ask you if we can work something out." And they were incredibly supportive. It's a company called Talasys. They're out of Denver here. They're an IT company. And they said, "How about we work out a way for you to take a sabbatical for as long as you're gone, and then you can come back and work." And so they were just really great about being flexible. I would not have done the show if they weren't as flexible as they were with me.
Also, it's great PR for the firm. If you turn out to be a nice person, I'm sure that has helped recruiting, wouldn't you think?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I think one thing, it's an interesting industry I was working in, not to bore anybody, but it's back office processing for the financial services industry. So we process securities, and it's massive contracts. I mean, millions of dollars worth of contracts. And so, your everyday viewer isn't exactly going to be buying our software. But what it did do is it spiked the interest on the internet for Talasys, which is great. And so there was some benefit to them. Honestly, though, is that, there wasn't a ton, and they just did it because they really wanted to see me, take a risk in life and shake life up a bit.
Well, that's great. I can't imagine that other people that have signed up for the show have had the same experience, so I'm sure you're grateful for that. What about as far as your personal value system, did you have any concerns when you signed up? Like, is this going to line up with who I am as a person and what I value?
Yeah. Of course, I think that I try to walk as best I can into any scenario in life asking that question, what is the wise decision? But I also believe that every decision, even on the surface, if it feels and looks dark and if it looks counterproductive, can be used for good at some level. And I think that's what this show was for me is, I do have a faith. I do believe that God is real. and that God is active. And so for me, I remember saying the prayer, like, Jesus, if this isn't meant for me, like if this isn't a good thing at any level, close one door, close, my family from being supportive, my friends, my office, whatever, just close the door. And every door just seemed to flow wide open. And so I did it. And I guess like, I want to be somebody that says yes more than I say no. And so I said yes. And I'm not, I guess I sit back today and I think about this, like, I'm not very upset that I did say yes.
I would assume that the people that are in production of the show, well, I know that I've heard that they have felt like you were such a great addition and they would be thrilled to even have you become the Bachelor again. But there are clearly people when you watch the show that do not come from the same place. So is that hard being a contestant and having a certain set of values, and then and knowing that the other people don't share that and they're not on the same, mission?
I don't know. I think that's life. And I think initially during the show, I remember on The Bachelorette, I was kind of shell shocked for a while, shocked at everything going around me. So many different people from so many different places, so many different, like, very intriguing, attractive people that were pursuing 1,000 different things in the world. And very few of them actually kind of had, I guess, the foundation in life that I had in terms of faith and what they were pursuing, which isn't bad. And I think that's what I learned through the show, is that all of us are different. We all come from different places. We all have different stories, and we all have a reason why we believe what we believe, or at least I hope everybody has a reason why they believe what they believe. So yeah, maybe at first it was disconcerting and a little bit, I felt alone, but over time I learned, and I guess it's been great for me now to sit here and say, really enjoy getting to know people with all different kind of faiths and all different kind of backgrounds. I think it makes me a more well-rounded person.
So then when you become the Bachelor and you have these contestants, and you've made this commitment, do you get frustrated when you meet other contestants that deep down in your soul are just there because it's an opportunity for them to maybe become a host of a television show one day? How is that frustrating? Because that's it. You've made a huge commitment in your life.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not, honestly, because of the setup and the format of the show, like, those people will be weeded out. And if they're not, I guess I'm a true believer that when you enter into any type of situation, if your intentions aren't pure and honest, like, it will get exposed. And the people that enter into situations with a authenticity, even if they're like, I don't really know why I'm here, but I want to give it a shot. I mean, I think that's a fair intention. Is if you're trying to manipulate a situation to get something out of it that isn't the purpose, then that will be exposed. It's frustrating, not really. This was my individual pursuit and my pursuit to really try to find somebody. And so however anybody else was going about it, I guess it was up to them. And I don't really have any place to claim if they're in the right or the wrong.
So I know that some of the former contestants of The Bachelorette, not contestants, the actual Bachelorettes, have said to me that they've felt enormous pressure before the show starts airing to be in shape, to lose weight, to look great. So I have always wondered, does The Bachelor feel the same way? Like, I've got to lose weight, I've got to whiten my teeth, I've got to look a certain way in order to be on TV. Do they feel the same pressure that women feel?
I mean, I definitely felt pressure. Yeah, I mean, I felt pressure because I knew that a lot of people were going to be watching me pursue a love story. And I guess maybe out of my own vanity, I wanted to try to look good doing it. But I also know that, like, there's a pressure on that too of, you already set yourself up for so much criticism. I felt pressure and just maybe more anxiety towards what else was I going to get criticism for that maybe I didn't recognize in myself already. So if it was my looks, or if it was my body shape, or if it was how fit I was, or how white or yellow my teeth are, like, that stuff all crossed my mind because you are, I guess, very sensitive in that time, and you're very vulnerable in that time. And one negative word said about you could really shake your life up.
Totally. Absolutely.
So yeah. So I did. I definitely felt pressure, but I also I don't want to change who I was just for the show.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay.
Do you ever have problems? And the first night you have all of these women show up. Do you ever have problems remembering their names? Do you ever need a nudge from someone like that girl's name is definitely not Vanessa?
I think that I get that question a lot, and one of the questions that my answer is, I think the show would love for you to mess up a name. I think that's great TV. Is where the awkward moment where you can't remember the girl that you're dating's name. I didn't have a very tough time, so I was so nervous about it. I came up with a little strategy where I would connect their name with something they were wearing. So that first night I could say like, Lauren, blue eyes, blue dress, like LB, Lauren, blue. Like I would connect all these things and try to remember it that way. I did okay. There was only one moment that I remember one of the girls sat down and was asking me, quizzing me, what's my name? And I guessed. Like straight guess, and I got it right because I remember there being so many Laurens. It was I forget what during my show, so I was like, okay, my chances are pretty high if I say Lauren, I'm going to get it right, and I did it, and I was spot on. So there's definitely those moments.
Do you think that you've been on the Bachelor Winter Games, you've been on The Bachelorette? Do you think that men get bro talks? Any of the contestants?
What do you mean?
Bro talks, like Botox, men's Botox.
Oh,
because undoubtedly,
undoubtedly
the girls do because they're going to be on TV. But I've always wondered if men get it. Do you think? Clearly, you don't because you have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No, I don't know, but yeah, they definitely get it. These guys, I'm telling you. These men that I know that go on the show, and I wasn't around a ton of the women, especially when it comes to their everyday routine, but they know more about fashion, some of them, and fitness and creams and all that stuff than I ever knew existed. So I'm positive that a couple of them are getting Botox.
Hysterical.
Brotox, or whatever we call it.
Brotox. Okay, here's another question that I've always wanted to ask. So you're the Bachelor and you get down to hometown dates. And so first of all, you are extremely lucky. Your parents are still together. I've seen your Instagram stories. They're totally in love. There are some people in the world like myself who just didn't happen to come from the right side of the door of opportunity. In other words, my parents were a hot mess. So my first question is, when you come from a great family and you're choosing someone, how important is it that they also come from a family where the parents are still married?
I don't know if that is as important as just how the family functions today. I think it's important for me there's a few factors that go into that. I understand that families will separate, and that's unfortunate and not ideal, but it's kind of how those families now have risen to the occasion outside of the separation. So if separation was best for that individual circumstance, then now is it still being treated like that was the best thing? Or is there still resentment? Is there still animosity? Is there still anger? Can you see that in the everyday life? And maybe the most important thing out of all of that is, what is my partner's desires for marriage? And so it's very important to me that the person I'm pursuing or in a relationship with believes that marriage is forever, and that relationships, even when they get hard, that both people need to continue to support, love, and care for each other. So that is the most important thing, outside of anything else.
Well, I will say this. A lot of people like myself that don't come from great parents, we decide to have the complete opposite. So, my husband and I have been married almost 11 years and we have almost 5 kids. So it's not always bad that somebody comes from a family that's highly dysfunctional if that person makes the decision to raise a family and to have a partnership that's totally different than the one that they came from.
I would completely agree. And I mean, I think in my life, at least, some of my most difficult circumstances, most confusing circumstances, some of the things that I've been confronted with that I disagree with the most are the ones that teach me the most. And I learn from the most, and that are
good.
Like ethical and moral stance towards things. So yes, I would completely agree with that.
How can you be sure that these women are not suppressing their personalities while they're on television? And that is, The Bachelor or any of the other the other shows that you've been on. How I'm always troubled by that. Like how, and I suspect, using my degree in armchair psychology, because I don't know you personally, but I feel like I'm a little bit older, that it would be very hard to separate how someone is on television and wanting enough time to see who they are without cameras. So is that ever a concern? Like, are these people suppressing who they are for cameras? Can I trust that they're going to be the same person once the camera crew leaves?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that might be a question I ask outside of even in real life dating too, is, hey, how much can we hide up our craziness? Because we've all got it. We've all got a little craziness in us. A little abnormal behavior or something, or triggers that set us off to react differently to different situations. And so for me, during The Bachelor, I got, I think the big trigger was, are you going to be different off camera than you are on? Huge concern. Should be a concern with anybody that does the show. But at the same time, that's part of the process of dating on the show, is trying to look through that, see through that, ask around, ask, their friends or ask their family when you get to meet them in hometowns. Just ask as many questions as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that people offer you opportunities to be on TV all the time. So after you've done this a couple times, how do you make a decision whether or not you want to open yourself up to expose yourself, to have a lack of privacy, to meet people and feel like you're on the same page?
Well, I mean, I guess for the most part, it's been kind of the same process as when I entered in it, is what is going on in my life? Would pursuing whatever opportunities out there, is it enhancing my life? Is it changing my life completely? I think for me, like, that's how I enter into these. And that's about as good as I can get. And also knowing, like, right now, I have a few things going on that, and as a result, like, I don't really have time for it. If I started to pursue TV, I would be giving up a lot of the things I care a lot about.
So when you went on Bachelor Winter Games, watching as a viewer, it looked like you started the show and then felt like you weren't emotionally open to it or prepared. Was I reading that the wrong way?
No, not at all. I mean, I think what happened to me was I went on the Bachelor Winter Games, and this is truthful, and I think anybody entering into that would have said the same thing. We didn't really know what we were getting ourselves into. We didn't know if it was going to be a really fun competition show, if it was going to be a dating show, if it was going to be emotional or just a lot of fun. It was a new thing that was exciting to participate in, and I got there and I realized that there were a lot of reminders from my Bachelor days during that experience. I realized there that, yeah, you're spot on. I wasn't emotionally ready to confidently walk into a relationship or a dating show or anything like that because of what my past how my past still affected me.
Mm-hmm. Well, when they gave you the opportunity, did they say you have to be single? Because, I mean,
no.
You show up and obviously they really wanted people to kind of make you match together.
Yeah, no, that was never a conversation. In fact, there wasn't a lot of criteria on if you're single or dating or if you're just, I think at that point they wanted some very interesting characters from all different walks of life. And then once they got there, everybody would figure it out. You know, hey, if you're not single, then this isn't for you. You can leave. Or maybe stick around and, you know, participate in some competitions and see where it takes you. I don't know. You know, I don't think in the show when they started Bachelor Games had a clear picture of what exactly was going to be happening.
Right. Do you feel like it would be hard for you going forward to be on a TV show where you're dating again?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it'd be very hard for me. I don't know, honestly, if I could. You know, it takes a while to recover from a public relationship and a public breakup.
Yeah.
And I said it, and it's funny, and this is such a weird, and I almost hate saying this, but I figured something out on Winter Games that I think is very true and very real in my life today. So, through conversations, I was talking, and, you know, I was healthy enough to recover fairly well from my breakup with Lauren. But it still took a huge toll on my life, and it still really affected me. I don't know how healthy I would need to be to go through that again and recover in the same way, because I know that just the last public breakup took a huge toll on me.
Yeah. Well, give us some good news. Are you dating in Colorado? Like, are you happy?
I'm very happy. I am dating. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's been a few months of dating and exploring and getting back out there and wanting to pursue a relationship and wanting to pursue other people. And so, yes, that has been a life change for me. It's still weird at times, but I am doing it and I am happy.
Is it a red flag for you when someone wants to take a picture with you and put it on their Instagram or asks you if you know anybody in the business? I mean, I would assume that's pretty difficult too.
Yeah, those are about as clear signs as I can possibly remember of somebody that I'm not interested in dating. It would be a quick turn off. So yes, but there's other small little things that you find through dating, and so you're like, okay, you're not here for the right intentions. But then all of a sudden, you know, you've met a few people, friends even, like guy friends, who, you know, some guys are the worst at this, is where they're like going to become friends with you for whatever reason. You can see pretty quickly who's in it for the right reason and who isn't.
Oh, gosh. So do you ever watch reality TV at all? You know, especially now that you've been on reality TV?
No, I really don't. I mean, I watch like some singing shows, American Idol, The Voice, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But no, I don't really watch any reality TV.
And I'm assuming you've probably never watched Unreal then.
I have, I think I watched the first season of it. Because I think that was when I was either going to become The Bachelor or before when I knew I was going to be on The Bachelorette.
Oh, is that
so it was like
so
good
weird?
practice. Yeah, super weird. I mean, it's definitely like, I mean, I'm actually very impressed that show has been around for more than one season. So that's kudos to them. I mean, it's super over dramatized. Like, I've never legally, half the stuff they say is happening, like legally cannot happen. So I've never had any experiences even close to what Unreal is showing, but you know, it is showing some level of the world that exists in The Bachelor, like the dramatics, the emotions, the confusion, the isolation, like all that stuff. But they're over dramatizing it to a level I've that's completely unreal.
What is the best friendship that came out of it, girl and guy, out of The Bachelorette and The Bachelor experience? Like the greatest friend that you met, a girl and a guy.
I mean, I have so many. I really love Ashley Iconetti. Obviously, we have a podcast together now. And, I've gotten to know her a lot better through that. You know, you get Becca Tilley and Leslie Murphy and all these girls that are just incredible people to be friends with. And guy-wise, I'm on a text thread with like 12 dudes who keep me laughing all the time. But I keep up to date mostly with Wells, Adams, and like JJ Lane, those guys.
That's great. Tell everybody about what you're working on now and where they can find you so they can kind of get updated on your life.
Yeah, definitely. So now I am running a company called Generous International. It is my everyday job. I'm sitting in my office right now. Took a little break to talk with you. And then also I've got a blog, Mahogany Workplace, that I write in once a week about relationships and about life. And then I'm also doing a podcast with iHeart called Almost Famous. And like I said, Ashley Kennedy's my co-host. We talk everything Bachelor and pop culture and that kind of stuff. So those are the three major things in my life. But, Generous is really kind of where my heart is at, and the Mahogany Workplace is really where I try to share my heart.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking your time. It's been great talking to you.
It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Rachel Pitzel is a content creator, and you probably have recognized her from Instagram. I have asked her to do a laborious job, and I'll tell you what that is. There is a new show on MTV called X on the Beach. You may have seen commercials for it. If you're not familiar with the show, let me break it down. The show is hosted by rapper and actor Romeo. It's a social experiment reality show bringing together singletons from shows like The Bachelorette, Big Brother, Bachelor in Paradise, The Challenge, Vanderpump Rules, Are You the One, and Bad Girls Club. So basically, these people show up to the beach. They think that this is going to be MTV's version of The Bachelor, only to find out that their exes are going to be brought to the beach. They're going to have to hang out in this strangely decorated mansion. And in the process of drinking all day, making out, and sitting around in bikinis, they have to figure out how they want to move forward in their romantic life. Rachel, were you familiar with this show?
I was not familiar with the show until you asked me to watch it. But when I did watch it, the first thing I thought of, did you watch The Real World where they brought back all the exes? Like, I don't even know how long ago. Yeah. So it had that same vibe, exactly, where it was kind of like the producers wanted you to know throughout all of the editing that they were messing with everybody that was there. And, yeah, I'm here for it.
So these were the singles, Jasmine from Bachelor in Paradise and The Bachelorette. She was the girl on Bachelor in Paradise who was always wasted. Then again, they were always all wasted. Chase McNary from The Bachelorette. He was the one who lived in Colorado who had the steps in his townhouse without a railing. I used to think he was cute, and then I realized he wasn't cute because they brought on his ex and then the girl flirting with him on the show, and they're sort of trashy. So it made me realize he, in turn, is pretty trashy. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. I was actually shocked when the girls came out because at first I remember that and I'm like, oh, cute guy. And then we're like, oh, okay then.
I feel like The Bachelor really made him seem like a preppy guy who may work at a bank when in fact he's probably some guy who has zero personality who has a fetish for girls that like hang out at a biker bar.
Yes, and like to maybe wear bikinis underneath all of their clothing because you never know when you might need a bikini.
Side note, I had a roommate in college who would always forget to do her laundry, and sometimes she would wear a bikini for her bra and underwear.
Which apparently now is a trend and would come in really handy. So she was just ahead of her time.
She was on trend. Paul Calafiore from Big Brother. I have nothing to say about this person. I have no feelings. Did you even know who that was?
No, yeah. I've never watched that show.
Faith Stowers from Vanderpump Rules. She's the girl that had sex with Jax on Vanderpump Rules while her elderly patient was asleep beside her. So we already know she's bottom of the barrel garbage. Corey Wharton from The Challenge. He seems a little bit unstable. I don't find him attractive. He really believes that he is a supermodel. A lot of the shots that they do for the show are like people whipping their hair as they come out of the ocean. I've never done that personally. Do you tend to do that when you go on vacation?
I don't tend to do that. And when I have playfully made fun of that kind of activity, let me just say that it's not easy to do. If your hair is wet, it does actually whip you like in the face. So I question how many takes they had people do because it was also very slow-mo. You notice that with everyone. And then a lot of like touching their body as they did it.
And it's a surprise to me after Bachelor in Paradise that the producers wouldn't want to like dial that back a little bit. But I get the feeling this is a house that maybe has 3 carrot sticks, 4 bags of Doritos, and just the worst rail liquor and like sour apple those sort of mixers that are extremely high in sugar content?
Yes, there's definitely some charcoal filter vodka there. But I mean, the whole premise of the show is you have to be in your bathing suit at all times on the beach and or, in the house, kind of fighting. So, I mean, I don't know. I felt like it was just an interesting chalk up of that one X show with maybe Bachelor in Paradise. And then there was a show, like a dating show on the beach, which is what I was kind of thinking this was going to be. But you remember a long time ago, and there was a lot of controversy around it, back when, reality shows were a sideshow thing, not huge. But I kind of just thought it was going to be more in that vein. And this show is very much, the producers just want you to know that they're there for, messing with everybody at all times.
I'll tell you what else was disturbing is that you and I watched what was the preview to the show, and it was hosted by Johnny Bananas from The Challenge and a girl that I had never seen before. What I can tell you about those two is that I know that they at some point dated because they brought it up every 3 seconds, but the girl had implants, and it was so distracting. I mean, her breasts took up the whole wide shot. And I couldn't understand why she had signed up for that. I mean, is it really worth it to host a show for 20 minutes to have a V-neck sweater dress on and just to expose yourself like that? In the long run, was it worth it? The one other girl that I'd never seen her before, but she really worked my last nerve. I'm going to say her name is Angela. She was on the Bad Girls Club. She bragged that she was from New Jersey, that she has hair extensions, breast implants, and she had her nose done. And she said, "You may recognize me because your boyfriend probably looks at all my Instagram pictures." I don't know if that's what you want the world to know about you. I would hope that at some point you got some sort of degree, that you've read a couple books, maybe had an interesting job, something that was a little bit more interesting than the fact that someone's boyfriend's probably checking you out on Instagram. Not quite a lofty goal, and where do you take that when you're 37?
And then looking for a job interview, and then they Google you and they find this clip. That's the other thing.
Well, I don't know where you what kind of job you would get after this. I'm going to say, if I were to use my crystal ball and my degree in armchair psychology, that at about 34 years old, she opens a tanning salon in New Jersey. She's going to have a husband named Giovanni, and they're going to have twins. Their names are going to be Fabian and Lexus. And she's just going to live down the street from her parents, and she's going to regret going on the show because she had to go to a therapy for at least a year and a half.
Can we talk about a few other things I found interesting?
Yeah.
So Romeo came on to the show, but didn't really introduce himself. And he kind of just spit out a couple of lines, that the producers asked him to do. But I just thought it was so interesting because he didn't actually host the show. I don't know, maybe he hasn't seen The Challenge just to kind of get, how MTV likes their host to do it. But he kind of just seemed like he knew and he was in on the whole thing. Listen, I am here to F with all of you guys, so good luck.
I think that he's just brought on to sort of be a buffer. I think that some of the women at first thought he was really attractive, and then they're going to realize how useless he is to the show, and then they're going to move on. I'm guessing that maybe by episode 5, he maybe, performs for one of the couples. They'll have a date on the beach like they do on The Bachelor, and he'll just sort of rap in the background.
Yeah. So, but what is he getting out of being on the show? That's what I was curious about.
Well, I think that MTV tends to have their age, bracket is usually between 15 and 23, and I feel like he's going through that for that demographic. I also noticed that with a lot of MTV shows, particularly The Challenge and The Real World, that the commercials during these shows tend to be ones that feature rehab facilities. So that's my concern.
Lots of rehab. I was actually shocked because if you go and watch it on demand, they play the same commercials over and over, and that's the commercial that I kept getting. So I thought that was interesting. The other one I thought was interesting is I was getting a lot of like diapers commercials and products for very young children. So I'm not sure what that says.
Well, tell everybody how they can find you.
So I'm on Instagram at xo.rachelpitzel. You can find me there. Lots of fun stories.
I love it. Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sonia Sells is the host of the In Trouble for Talking podcast, where she is known as Hillary Banks. And she is getting married soon and is obsessed with all things wedding. And for that reason, I asked her to watch an episode of Bridezillas. First of all,
Hi.
Congratulations on getting, when is the actual big day?
December, end of December of this year. I like to make my fiance watch this show because I'm like, see, I could be this and I'm not. You're welcome.
Bridezillas, for those that have not seen it, is a docuseries that follows women who seem to be perfectly normal before the wedding planning took over their life. It is like their dream wedding come true, and these brides have become out of control in the days leading up to their wedding. And they tend to follow them maybe like the 48 hours before the wedding and then through the duration of the wedding. The specific episode that we watched together is called Pageantzilla and Stormzilla. It is season 11, episode 4, and it features a woman in Louisiana who doesn't seem to watch the news and was not aware of a hurricane in Houston.
Right?
And then Taylor, who is a tattooed girl obsessed with do-it-yourself stuff and makes herself seem like a social media star, when in fact I did some internet research and she only has like 2,000 followers.
And this is like after the show's been on for a while. When the episodes first aired, I checked because I'm like, all right, what are we working with here? Is she like an influencer? Is she, something? We had the same number of followers on Instagram. If anything, I had like a couple more. Not to make it about that, but it's a little about that.
It was strange because she kept yelling at her family about table sconces and this is, I have to put this up on social media. I've got to hashtag it. During the wedding, she wanted it to be live cast. She needed to have a certain amount of people at the bachelorette party. She even roped in some girl that she barely knew from high school to come to make it look
I loved that.
better in pictures. And I thought, as sad as this is probably quite true for so many people that their day has become less about finding a companion for the rest of their life and more about the pictures that are going to appear on their feed. Did it disturb you in the same way it disturbed me?
Oh, absolutely. Especially I've worked in social media for the last 10 years or so. And, I understand the importance of building a brand, building a following, but it's like she's not doing anything else. She doesn't have anything else going for her where she would normally have that built in. And then ultimately, as like a little lead in to the actual episode, by the time it got to this live stream for all these friends she has all around the world, it was like less than 50 people were actually tuning into this wedding that she hyped up this whole time.
Well, I also wouldn't want to watch the wedding because she's a garbage person. She's asked
mostly that.
She's asked this girl, Stacy, she claims is her best friend, to be her maid of honor. Stacy has lip injections and she's probably 24 and the biggest breast implants that I've seen on the WE channel. Her family are doormats. They just put up with it. And her fiance doesn't even want to be around her.
That to me was the saddest thing, where every time they'd interview him, he's like, I'm happy to get this over with. And I guess whatever makes her happy. And I don't want her to yell at me in front of all my family. So I'm going to stay away from her during the wedding. Out of control.
Now, for somebody who calls himself a do-it-yourself expert, I felt like her theme and the accessories were pretty low budge.
The most aggressively basic things I have ever seen. If I could describe to somebody in the future what weddings in 2017 were like, it's just imagine painted mason jars, blush pink painted mason jars with baby's breath and some twine, some burlap twine around it. And that was the aesthetic for weddings in 2017. She could not have encapsulated it any better.
Why would anybody be friends with this garbage piece of person? She is,
and she doesn't have
horrible.
any friends though. like her own family is like has literally had it. She threw one of the mason jars at her mother at one point.
Now the other bride, her nickname is Sam. I think her name's like Shaniqua, maybe.
Yeah, no. So I have a lot of thoughts about that. So I feel like it is to be quite frank, like a respectability politics thing. She doesn't want to be known as Shaniqua because in her mind that's ghetto. And she'd rather be known as Sam because that makes her sound fancier. But I loved when over the course of this episode and the next 2 episodes that she's in, like who in her life calls her Sam and who calls her Shaniqua.
Right. I know.
like all her aunts who were like kind of fed up with it were like, I don't understand this from Shaniqua. And it's like
I felt like she got this TV opportunity and she said, I'm going to rebrand myself, but didn't tell everybody else, like didn't get everybody else on board. And I also feel like she is hopeful that she's going to leave Louisiana and become an actress in some capacity. And this was the real, because they cannot believe that this is how she normally is. Here's the number one problem I have right out the gate. She has 14 bridesmaids.
Can you believe it?
Nobody needs 14 bridesmaids. That's ridiculous. I'm going to say 10 of those people she won't talk to after the age of 28. That is a waste of organza. That's bullshit. You do not need 14 bridesmaids. And she's taking the time to glue like faux pearls and flip-flops. That's another thing. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, if I have to do this for all these girls I'm never going to talk to again after this, I have to ask myself where it all went wrong.
And I loved, too, I wrote down her line, regular flip-flops are for regular people.
I will say that the one part where I thought this could be an advertisement for some tourism board was, she said, I live in the kind of place where you can sit on the front porch and drink a beer and no one cares. And I was like, I could be down with that. Yeah, in pajamas. I could be down with that. I could be down. The bugs, not so much. Her aunt, who seems like a lovely person, has a beautiful home. She roped her into cooking almost the entire meal as part of a team, and then also wanted her to do free alterations. Why do these family members put up with this girl?
I don't. Her and the other one too. Like I'm in awe that like if I spoke to anyone in my family, especially my mother, like that on national television, it would have been over. There would not have been a wedding to go to. There would have been a funeral.
So you're in the bridesmaid wedding bride world, and you're in some Bridezilla Facebook groups. Tell me, what in the year 2018 are the trends? What do I need to know, even though I'm no longer invited to weddings? I'm only invited to, and not even baby showers anymore. Second weddings sometimes.
So it is a lot of, social media is a large part of it, which is something she brings up. I'm Sam or Shaniqua. I feel like I should just call her Shaniqua because I'm not going to play into her games.
I agree.
Shaniqua has this thing that she wants through you. It comes up in another episode. Basically, it's like a selfie mirror. It's like a full length mirror that is like hooked up to the internet. It's like digitized, and basically it's in lieu of having like a camera person manning a photo booth. It is a digital photo booth. So that is like a new hot thing. The hashtags, the Snapchat filters, especially for the day, social media branding is oddly a very huge part of it.
That's what I'm troubled by. I feel like that's the new concern now is when you start dating someone, you're immediately thinking about how clever your hashtag would be if in the event you decide to get married. Listen, this is my advice, which means nothing, but this is what I say because I've been to so many damn weddings. No one gives two shits about the favors. No one cares about your table sconces. No one cares about your table linens. All they care about is, one, is there a bar? It cannot be a cash bar. It has to be an open bar. There has to be some enjoyable music. If you get people lubricated enough, they won't even care what the music is. Just have good music for at least an hour and a half. The food has to be edible. No one's going to talk a week later about the stuffed chicken with the rice pilaf. They'll care while they're eating, is this edible? But it's just got to be moderately good. They only care about the music, the alcohol, and of course, if the married couple is happy and best suited for one another. Outside of that, no one really gives two shits. No one's paying attention to the bridesmaids' dresses. No one cares about your dumb dance that you're going to choreograph. They just want to have a good time. They want to feel like the next day that they had a couple glasses of something delicious and they had a good time. That's it. Here's what I think. I think that they should take the family members and the friends that were part of this shit show and put them together on a cruise. I'm going to say a cruise to like the Bahamas. They deserve it. I will note that probably most of the bridezillas that appear in this docuseries will end up divorced and probably within a 3-year mark.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would also say that if you have more than 6 bridesmaids, you're a real asshole.
Yeah. Yes. But they said like that's like a Louisiana thing. I've seen that before in like on 4 weddings and stuff. Like I don't understand that, but like she probably should have given some of her bridesmaids to Sam, honestly. I mean, to Taylor to make friends.
There's just no point. You have a bunch of friends, have them just enjoy the wedding. They don't need to wear some stupid dress and wear bedazzled shoes and just to show you their support. They can just stand beside everyone else, give them a nice corsage. They don't need to be a bridesmaid.
And when half the bridesmaids left, I was like, oh, good. You now have a reasonable sized bridal party.
I agree with you. I agree. Well, the guy that she married, he clearly is an idiot because he proposed to her in the first place. But right. I'm going to say she's going to appear on Bridezillas in about 4 years, marrying someone else. So tell everybody how they can track you down.
So you can find me at Sonia Marie Says on Twitter. You can also listen to my show In Trouble for Talking. We're on pretty much everything. We're on Facebook, Twitter, as well as all the listening platforms. And I'm going to say this now to hold myself a little bit publicly accountable. I'm about to launch another podcast next month called Nevertheless She Survived, a true crime podcast all about women who were, almost killed and survived.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Oh, my God. It was great talking to you.
You too.
The amazing Kate Casey.
I want to thank my awesome guest this week, my girlfriend who's a publicist who wishes to keep her name under wraps, Ben Higgins, Rachel Pitzel, and Sonia Sells. This coming week, I will be at the Great Love Debate in Hollywood on Thursday with my friend Brian Howie. He's putting on an event. Cody Nicholson from Big Brother, Ben Higgins, Brandi Glanville, Morgan Michaels from RuPaul's Drag Race. They're all going to be there talking about love. I'm going to show up beforehand and interview some of them. And I'm thinking that for an event where you're talking about love and people are perhaps hoping that they could, have sex later that evening, I might be a little bit of a buzzkill when I show up with my pregnant belly. But it's a great night, and if there's still some tickets available, so I hope to see you there. I'm doing stand-up with Heather McDonald at the Irvine Improv, June 22nd and 23rd. That's 4 shows. It is going to be a fantastic weekend. Get your friends, get your spouse, get your coworkers, get them together, get an Uber. I would love to see you. It's going to be a great time. And side note, the bar next door usually has a karaoke band that has a band play along. And I definitely intend on doing a couple numbers. Also, I want to remind you to go to my website, loveandknuckles.com, to read my television recaps and all my other writings about parenting, pregnancy, etc. I can be found on my Facebook page, Love and Knuckles, but what you really need to do is sign up or join the Facebook group for the podcast, Reality Life with Kate Casey. Just put it in the search button. You are not going to find more clever, hilarious, awesome people than in this group. And we are deep diving these shows all week long. There's great information. We're all laughing about stuff, so please join. My Twitter is at Kate Casey. I love to tweet about shows during the week. Let me know what guests you'd love to hear from. My Instagram is at Kate Casey CA. I'm about to post a picture where I'm imitating a fit tummy tea picture of Kourtney Kardashian. As always, remember to subscribe to the show, to leave me a 5-star review, and most of all, have a great week, watch some great TV, and let's all meet up next week.